We've already looked at the recruitment process in a little bit of detail. We're going to look in a little more detail now, because it's really asking not just about the whole acquisition process, but about some specific issues, two specific issues when it comes to recruitment. So we're going to look at the source again, so whether you get internal or external, whether you get the people from inside the business or from outside the business. But we're also going to look at the skills required. Do you hire someone who has good general skills that could come in handy later, or do you hire someone with very 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 specific skills that's going to come in handy now but might not be useful later? In fact, their skills might be completely useless later. So we're going to look first at the source, and we're going to look at the advantages and disadvantages of internal and external recruitment again in a little more detail. So the advantages, obviously, is going to motivate staff if they see other people getting promoted, because they know that they can get promoted as well. They also know that loyalty is rewarded and long service is rewarded rather than punished. It's, if you say, all right, where you've been working here for 20 years, and then people just kind of happen to get promoted after that long. It works in things like law firms, being a partner after being there for so long. And the really good advantage is that if you hire someone in a promotional position from inside the business, they're going to adapt more quickly. They're going to know the business's systems. They're going to know everyone there. They're going to know how the photocopier works and all that stuff. And they're going to know all of those things already. They're going to know the internal politics. They're going to know who to stay away from and who's trustworthy and all that. So they're going to know those business systems. The workers' strengths and weaknesses are already known to the management, so it's a lot less risky. And unless they turn into a really horrible person once they get promoted, which happens, they're a lot less risky than hiring someone based on an interview where they might have been perfectly nice and they might have said, oh, well, one of my strengths is this and this and this, but then it turns out that they were just lying. It can be very, very useful to hire someone internally. But the disadvantages, obviously, is going to be a problem of negative competition, and that's really unproductive. If people are fighting for a promotional position, then it's not going to be good for the business, especially if they're sabotaging each other. And once one person gets promoted, out of say 5 people who could have got promoted, the other 4 are going to instantly, turn against the business, and it might be fatal. They might go, what? Instead of that, I'm going to leave, and you're going to have to hire someone else, plus the person to replace the person from internal, because they decided to promote that person. So now you got to replace 2 people or 3 people or 4 people. So it can be a real problem, other than just not being motivated anymore. It also means that there aren't any new experiences or skills being brought into the business, especially from those competitors. Because if you're hiring someone, you're probably going to be hiring someone who used to work for a competitor, and it'd be nice to know what goes on at the competing business. When it comes to external recruitment, you're going to have more choice. You're going to be able to bring new experiences and skills from other businesses. You're not going to need to train them if the worker already has the skills. So if you want someone who has a master's degree in blah, 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 you might be able to hire someone who's got a master's degree already. And you might say, you know what, that's great. So we don't have to pay you to do that, or we don't need to subsidize it, or we don't need to wait until you do it. And no one here has one, so we couldn't promote someone and then not have it. So it's good. We don't need to train you. There's also less chance of internal conflict. Now, the conflict between I'm talking about the person between the workers who are going for the job internally. If 5 people in the business are going for it internally and none of them get it, at least they're not going to hate each other. They're probably not going to like management very much, but it's not going to be a question of, well, this one worker we saw was better than the other 4 workers. It's going to be, look, we didn't see any of you as being the best. And you might say, you know what, I'm going to continue to work really hard, and maybe next time a promotion comes up, I'll be able to get it. But you're not going to start sabotaging the other workers because, and you're not going to start hating the other workers or whatever, just because of that internal fight for the position. When it comes to disadvantages, it can be very, very risky to hire someone externally unless you really know whether they're any good. If they have lots of references and their referees just give them lots of praise, but it can be false, right? If I had a worker that I couldn't really fire because they didn't do anything horribly wrong, but they just weren't really good, and I've always wanted to get rid of them. If someone rang me and said they've gone for another job, and would I like to recommend them, I would recommend them. I'd say, oh, no, he's wonderful. Oh, I'd hate to lose him. Oh, no, that's terrible. And hope he gets the job so I don't have to fire him because I can't. And then leave him stuck or her stuck with the other business. Also, the first weeks are going to be less productive. While they're learning the ropes, while they're settling in, they're not going to be as productive as they usually would be. They usually settle in pretty quickly, but it can take a very, very long time. And also that question of, what was wrong with your current staff? They're going to be asking that, and they might even be asking you that, and they might feel that resentment like, well, all right, yeah, one of the 5 of us didn't get it, so we don't hate that other person, but excuse me, why didn't one of us get it? Yeah, so it kind of is, both ways you're screwed, yeah. The other thing that we need to look at for recruitment are the skills required. So do you hire someone with general skills or specific skills? In terms of general skills, it's going to be cheaper to hire someone with general skills that you can then train up and mold them into whatever you want them. Because they're usually less qualified, there's going to be more people with general skills. So if your skills required include like people skills, there are more people with people skills than there are neurosurgeons. So you if you're hiring someone with general skills, you probably wouldn't hire someone with general skills to be a neurosurgeon. But if you are hiring someone with general skills, you have a bigger range to choose from, so they're going to be cheaper. On the disadvantages side, it might not be possible. Like I said, if you are hiring a neurosurgeon, I'm pretty sure there's a legal requirement that makes sure that they have to at least be a doctor. So if there are legal requirements, it might not be possible. The other disadvantage is that there's no immediate benefit to the business. If someone just has general skills and they're easy to work with and they can understand things quickly and they're just generally smart, they can be good for the business, but not straight away. I mean, if you're looking for someone that just needs to do a very specific job, just them having, good people skills and all that, it's not going to help the business straight away. Later on, when they need to innovate or something like that, they might be good, but straight away they might not have any of the skills, any of the specific skills required, and they're going to need a lot of training. Hiring someone with just the specific skills that you need also has disadvantages, but the advantages are, obviously some are required by law, but the business immediately benefits because it needed that person's specific skills. Otherwise, why did they hire them? So if you need someone to do a specific job and you go out of your way to hire someone, you'd probably want them to have at least some of the specific skills that they need for that job. But the disadvantage is that they're probably going to be more expensive. If they're more qualified and there's less of them, then, basic economics will tell you that they're going to be more expensive. And that's going to be a cost to the business.